Okay. I believe my screen is visible, right?
So we see, I don't know, a freeze screen. Okay, now we can see it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you for the kind invitation to share part of what we have been doing for the last 1 or 2 years related to application of machine learning to catalysis. This is slightly not in line with the generative AI. However, it's also an application of machine learning as it relates to catalysis. So this is the outline of my presentation. And as a background, the application is all about predicting the performance of catalyst for oxidative dehydrogenation reaction. This is a reaction that is used mainly to produce butadiene, which is a second step reaction product. When you start from normal butane, you get intermediate butenes, and then the next step gives you butadiene. So what we are showing here is the market for this very valuable product. As you can see, it has an annual growth rate of 3.71%, and it's a fast growing market. It's mainly in the Middle East and Africa. And the major players for this product are TPC Group, ExxonMobil, Shell, Sinopec, etc. So this product, it has a commercial route through which it can be produced. And the most common route is steam cracking from steam cracker. However, it came as a byproduct. So it's normally a byproduct of steam cracking, where the major products are ethylene and propylene. However, there is an on-purpose method, which are either butane dehydrogenation or butylene oxidative dehydrogenation. So butane dehydrogenation, it means it's just a direct dehydrogenation of the normal butane without using any oxidant. So this has been commercialized by several companies. And also the butylene oxidative dehydrogenation, that means the starting material is butene, not normal butane. This has also been commercialized. However, direct normal butane to butadiene has not yet been commercialized. This means there is a room for continuous exploration towards commercialization. So ODH is an on-purpose method that is used to produce butadiene. That means butane is interacted with an oxidant, which can be either oxygen or CO2 or dinitrogen 1 oxide to get the butadiene. And it has no limitation for thermodynamics, and the catalyst has prolonged usage time. The selectivity control is the main challenge because the products get over-oxidized to carbon oxides. So designing catalyst, it's mainly by trial and error. So you synthesize a catalyst, you test its performance and see at what level does it give a selectivity. And then you continue to do this. So this trial and error approach, it normally leads to like wasting of materials, especially the catalyst precursors and other stuff like that. So if this process can be followed up by machine learning, it will simplify this trial and error approach so that you can only test catalysts that showed promising performance theoretically. So it reduces the wastage of materials. So the concept of machine learning, as we all know, machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence. It utilizes statistical algorithms to identify the underlying features in a data set, and then it makes prediction based on those features. It has a unique ability of discovering the underlying patterns in data responsible for expressing various properties and behaviors. So chemometrics is a branch of science which also extracts information from chemical system by data-driven approach. So machine learning is very vital, and it has found a series of application in catalysis. So before we delve into our application, we'll just have a brief discussion about the types of machine learning. So we have the supervised, the unsupervised, and the reinforcement learning. The supervised learning is the one in which you use a labeled data. That means there is a clear goal in mind, and also it gets trained with known data. So it's best suited for maybe prediction or classification of a data set. The unsupervised learning, on the other hand, you train the model with an unlabeled data. So an example is clustering. So mainly it's more of an exploration. So it looks at the data, and it tries to uncover what is the hidden pattern in the data, and then it makes the learning, and then it makes whatever is interested. So it's mainly used for clustering. An example is k-means clustering. And then the reinforcement learning, it's the one that looks at what is the environment, what is happening in the environment, and it receives updates and feedbacks, which can be either in the form of rewards or penalties. And then it updates the system, and then it continues until a satisfactory outcome is achieved. So these are the various types of machine learning. And for the algorithms, like we have seen in the previous slides, there are the supervised learning, the unsupervised, and the reinforcement. So also we have like mainly for the supervised learning, this is where we have the linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, random forest. All these things, all these algorithms are applied for particular data set. So one thing that we should understand is there is no one rule that fits all for these algorithms. That means an algorithm will work fine for a particular data, but it may not work for another data set. So there is a popular saying that let the data speak. I mean, you have to train the data on the models and see which one performs to satisfaction based on the performance acceptance criteria. And then you can decide whether this algorithm is suitable for this data set that you have or it's not. So this is a typical scheme for machine learning studies. So you start from the data set. The data set is what you generate either experimentally or you obtained from the literature. And mainly the first thing is to do data processing. Maybe there is an outlier in the data, so you try to like screen the data to do what is called feature engineering, and then also you try to do data normalization. That means if there is if you are dealing with different features that have different ranges, so you have to normalize it so that they can fall in a certain range. Mainly people use 0 to 1 range. So there are several criteria for normalizing data. And then after that, you try to segregate the data into the training and the testing data. Well, you take the training data, mainly people use trend split, trend test split ratio, maybe 80-20, 75-25. And then also people use cross-validation and other series method of splitting the data, all at to have a training and testing. This is mainly the case of supervised learning, supervised machine learning. This is, of course, what we will be discussing today. So the training data sets, then you do what is called hyperparameter tuning. So most of the models, they have hyperparameters, which are within particular ranges. We are going to see for some of the selected models of our discussion today, what are the tuned hyperparameters. So you select the hyperparameter and you do what is called tuning of hyperparameter. There are various methods that are used, maybe the randomized search or the grid search CV, to obtain the optimum hyperparameters for a particular model. So once you obtain the optimum hyperparameter, and if you are satisfied with the hyperparameter, then you go ahead and get your training. And then once the model is trained, then you try to apply the model on your unknown data, which is mainly the test data. And then you, of course, see what are the R square value, the root mean square error value, and other things. If they are acceptable and satisfactory, then you go and do the interpretation of the model in terms of feature importance analysis, the sharp analysis, and other stuff like that. So this is like a back and forward or feed forward and feed backward process until you are satisfied with what you have obtained. So here we try to simplify the workflow. This is also very similar to what we have seen in the previous slide. So this is for the particular studies that we have conducted. So our data was acquired in the lab. This is real experimental data that we conducted. So it's not from literature values. And then we did the pre-processing of our data. We normalized the data to be in the range of 0 and 1. And then we developed the model. So we took 80% of the data for training and 20% for validation, that's testing. And out of the many algorithms that are available, we chose 4 algorithms that we're going to see how they perform later. And the performance evaluation in terms of the R square and then also the arrow, the root mean square arrow and other stuff. And then finally, the feature importance. We also attempted to look at the permutation, feature importance, and the sharp layer analysis, all for our data. So like I mentioned, this data was generated experimentally. So perhaps it may not be as huge as data gathered from the literature or based on maybe high throughput analysis. However, to a satisfactory level, it's also agrees to the models that we have developed. So they are generated based on experiments in an in-house reactor at our facility here at the center. And these are the combinations of metal oxide that we have used, and the reaction temperature range, and the ratio of the feed, which is butane, and oxidant, which is oxygen. So the dependent variable for these studies is the yield of the hydrogenation products. And other people can also look at the conversion or butadiene selectivity. So here we try to present the statistical measures of the data set. So we have the mean, minimum, that's for each data set, we have minimum, maximum, and the mean and the standard deviation. This was used in normalizing the data, but this gives you an idea of the range. Like for the temperature, we just considered between 400 to 500, and the feed ratio is between 1 to 4. And for all metal oxide loading, it's from 0 loading to like nickel 38%, iron 28%, in that fashion. This is the entire data set that we have generated. So to visualize the data, we attempted the correlation coefficient by Pearson. And what this tries to tell us is whether or how is the interaction between the features and also with the output, that's the input features and also the output feature. Because in some cases, if there is a very strong correlation between the features, then there might be a challenge of multi-collinearity. However, it happens when you have the coefficient value in the range of 0.75 and above. So as you can see, for all the features and also the output, there is hardly, in fact, there is none any value that has reached 0.5. So this is an indication that we don't have an issue with multi-collinearity. So we tried to minimize the slides by not showing how the model was trained, how it was developed. However, here we present one of the models, which is artificial neural network model. And first, you can see the tune hyperparameters. So like I mentioned earlier, all these hyperparameters, the number of hidden layers, the number of neurons in each layer, and the number of iterations and the optimizer, we have several of them, and we have ranges for the layers and the neurons and the iterations. So after the parameters have been tuned continuously, we obtained these values as the optimum hyperparameters. And this is what we used in training the model. The figure on the left showed the training model with a 0.98 R-square value, while the figure on the right showed the test data. That is, after the model has been trained, then we now tested it on an unknown data to see how it will perform. And we were able to achieve 82% R-square value, confirming that it's reasonably understood the pattern in the data and was able to predict to up to this accuracy. Again, we also used a support vector regression model with a new parameter. So this is very similar to SVR. The only difference is the parameter new introduced, it controls the number of support vectors, and also it controls the margin of error. So also this hyperparameter, it has various, this model has various hyperparameters, the C, the gamma, and also the kernel that is used, maybe radial or linear and stuff like that. So after the tuning using grid search CV with 5-fold cross-validation, we obtained these values as the optimum hyperparameters. And when we tested the model on the data for training, we got 0.88 R-square value. And then for a trained data, we got almost similar value, meaning this the model understood the underlying patterns in the data set, and it was able to give almost similar performance for both the training and the testing. Again, we tried to use another ensemble model, which is the gradient boosting regressor model. And also the tune hyperparameters are the number of trees, the learning rate, the maximum depth of trees, and the regularization term. And this GBR model, it gave a perfect training R-square, and also a very high R-square value for the testing data. That means it was able to really understood the data, and it predicted with a very high accuracy of an unknown data. And finally, also the extreme gradient boosting regressor, which is an SGBR model. It also has the parameters, number of trees, running rate, and the maximum depth of trees. And as you can see, also we got a 0.99 R-square for the training and 0.92 R-square for the test data. So these are the 4 models that we selected out of several models that could be tested for this data. In the previous studies, we have tested series of models. However, for these studies, we only limited to these ones. And after testing others, of course, with not up to performance for these 4 models that we are presenting today. So this table just try to compare the performance of the models, the R-square training, the R-square test, and also the R-square for the overall data, and the root mean square error for the test data. So you can see all the models, they perform reasonably well. However, the ensemble models, that's the SGBR and the GBR models, they outperform the SBR and ANN model. And one may wonder, why is ANN? ANN is a very robust model. However, because our data set has a lot of zeros, of course, for no loading of some of the metal oxides, there will be 0 in those rows for those data. That is why ANN was not able to potentially or to fully capture the complexities of the data. However, also a value of 82% is reasonably accepted. So after we obtained the model performance, the next thing was to try the feature importance analysis. And one of the feature importance analysis is the permutation feature importance. Here we have shown for all the 4 models, the artificial neural network up to the GBR models. And as you can see here, it's ranked all the features based on their importance. And from the name is a permutation. So this just gives an indication that possibly nickel and of course for all the 4 models, it gave a similar maximum or the most important feature, that is the nickel loading, which of course agrees with most of the experimental findings for this kind of studies. So reasonably, the models or the feature importance gave close indication of the importance of the features. That means an attention should be given to these features that have proven to be more important whenever you are trying to synthesize the catalyst. That means an attention should be given to the loading of these metals with a hope that they will, of course, give more performance for the product. This is what it actually entails. Similarly, this another feature importance is the Shapley additive explanation, which is approximated or abbreviated as SHARP. So it also gives a similar indication of the most important features that control the performance or the performance of the desired output. As you can see also here, we have nickel as the top performer, followed by molybdenum and other metal oxides. So in all the models, they have shown that temperature is not really an important, I mean, it doesn't really positively contribute to the yield of the dehydration products, which is reasonable because for this kind of reaction, there is an optimum temperature above which the reaction will start to decline. I mean, the product will be converted to other products. So that means once that optimum is obtained, any more temperature will not positively contribute to the product. Rather, it will affect the product. Again, here we presented, this is like an extract from the previous slide. So a combination of this is what gives the previous slide. So this is a waterfall plot for first instance of data set. Now, the first data set, for example, is we have a 20 nickel feed ratio of 1, 0 loading of molybdenum, 0 loading of tungsten, 30 bismuth, 0 cobalt, 0 iron, 0 zinc at 400 temperature, and 0 manganese. And what it's saying is that at this first instance, this is how these various features affect the yield of the hydrogenation products. This is just a first instance. We have like this data set, almost 185 of it. So you cannot generalize by just the first instance. However, it just gives you an indication how each data set contributes to the overall effects on the yield. So having gone through all this model, the model prediction and stuff like that, then we developed, in collaboration with some colleagues from the maths department, we developed like a calculator which can be used to predict new catalysts for this particular application. This is based on a paper that we published in ChemCatChem. So the link of the paper is there, and you can search it, and also you can also go through this calculator from this link that is given below. It's very user friendly. However, there are a lot of disclaimer that of course you have to take into consideration before you can apply it. So it's based on the domain with which we tested, we obtained this data based on the ranges of the temperature the loading of the metal oxide, the type of metal oxide that we have used. However, for another application, this can be developed. For similar application, it can be developed, and it saves time in going to the lab and synthesize and test. So this will just, I mean, it's very friendly. You can try various combinations and see what you will obtain. And after you have successfully obtained reasonable values that you are happy with, you can select and then test them in the laboratory. And then, of course, with fingers crossed, we hope to get a reasonable prediction. I mean, a reasonable performance in the lab. So this is all about this. And so to summarize what we have discussed, the various models predicted the performance of ODH catalyst with low RMSE values and high R-square value. The hyperparameter tunings produce optimal hyperparameters, and the concept of feature importance revealed the most important descriptors. And the inverse prediction method, this is what we have shown in the last two slides. They are utilized to predict new catalysts. However, the final and the very important note is the optimal choice of a model depends on the specific characteristics of the data set. That means there's no one rule fits all in predicting or in developing machine learning models for data sets. So our current research directions Bayesian optimization with expected improvement, explorative machine learning approach combining high throughput with DFT calculations, and also part of the topic of, the main theme of the webinar, which is generative AI, but with emphasis on its application in catalysis. And we are open for collaborations. We have recently launched the CMC lab, which is the computational and mathematical chemistry lab at our center here in Crack. And this lab, it has series of computer workstations. It has licensed Material Studio, Gaussian, VABs, and other computational softwares. And also we're in the process of purchasing a licensed version of Matlantis software, which is a very powerful software developed by Japan scientists. And it can be used it's based on AI application in Python, but it can be used to do DFT and other MD simulation. And another interesting thing is that we are also collaborating with a very popular professor in Japan from the Hokkaido University, who has also developed a very user-friendly machine learning platform. And you can check it out on this website. It's Professor Keisuke Takahashi. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ghazali. I mean, this is basically a very enlightening presentation on fascinating the intersection between heterogeneous catalysis, which is something that is important for the industry, as well as machine learning and AI. And hopefully we can see more of the work that you are doing using basically generative AI. And your deep expertise and innovative research have really provided us with valuable insights in the future of catalysis in general, as well as computational modeling, because you had shown a lot of that. And just like we will open, if you allow me, to some questions. So we have Nuh has a question. Have you taken into consideration that operating conditions can have an effect in terms of features importance?
Sorry, can you say the question again? I did not get it.
Have you taken into consideration that operating conditions can have an effect in terms of feature importance in your study?
Yeah, we also consider the operating conditions, which are the reaction temperature, the feed ratio. The reaction is atmospheric, so our main reaction conditions are the temperature and the feed ratio. These are what we have varied, and we have also shown their effects on the importance of the features. I think we have taken that into consideration.
Right, thank you. I think we can go to the next question by Hassan Hassan. How other features such as composition ratios, surface area, and preparation methods could be used as inputs for chemometric models in this application? So if you can just have your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, this is a very good question. Of course, the properties of catalyst, the preparation method, all have effects. However, for these studies, we adopted similar or the same preparation method at the same pretreatment condition. This is why we have not shown their effects. But I mean, these are also things that can be considered, and they will definitely have effects on the performance. But for this data set presented, we have used uniform preparation method, and also all the calcination conditions, the drying conditions are all similar. So this is why we have not shown them as part of the features that might have an effect here.
Okay, that's clear. I think maybe we can have two other questions. So there is a question by Sanjeev, which says that, can we use this to predict propane dehydrogenation catalyst?
Yeah, so it's similar, but we cannot use this exactly because this is developed mainly for butane dehydrogenation. However, we can use the same concept to develop that of propane. So it's a similar concept. I mean, it can be used.
Okay, so one more question by Abdullah Bannai, and maybe you can answer the rest of the questions on the chat if that's possible. So
Okay.
just he was asking, just like, have you tried to synthesize the data due to scarcity? Like, you have a limited amount of data. Can you just like generate data in order basically to support the research?
So yeah, this data I presented are based on what we synthesize in our lab. There is no any data here among the results that was taken from the literature. All these data, they are from what we have done. This is like studies for a very long period of time that we generated this data. However, with use of this calculator, I mean, it can save you all this synthesis. I mean, you can generate a lot of data with the calculator. And then if you obtain what you are happy with, then you can try it in the laboratory. So this minimizes the time that you spend on synthesizing and testing series of catalysts with maybe some that are not really promising.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Ghazali. We appreciate your dedication and advancing basically scientific knowledge to the participants. And as we wrap up this segment of our event, we'll now take a short break of 1 hour to allow everyone just like to refresh and prepare for the next part of our program, in which Dr. Arwal Abdel Karim from CACS will be basically speaking about her work. And during the break, please feel free to continue jotting down any questions that you may have, and we will address them during the Q&A session, basically during this break. And thank you very much, Dr. Ghazali, for your insightful talk. And we thank all the participants also for their active engagement. And we look forward to reconvening shortly and continuing our exploration of the cutting-edge advancement in generative AI and chemistry.
Thank
So
you.
we'll go for 1 hour break. Thank you.